Just be patient with Aiden. It's his first time clerking.
He's going to be amazing.
Shoulders. All right, good evening. We're going to start the planning and zoning meeting for the city of Hayden. Today is April the 17th, 2023. May we get a roll call, please?
Chair Davis,
I am present.
Commissioner Howard,
Present.
Commissioner Prickett,
Here.
Commissioner Bemis,
Here.
Commissioner Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
and Commissioner Gibson is absent.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We have a quorum. Would you please join for the Pledge of Allegiance? Brandon, would you kick it off?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Do we have any conflicts of interest with any commissioner at tonight's various agenda items? Also, let the record show that Commissioner Gibson has just joined us. Welcome.
Good afternoon, sir.
Okay, I'm not hearing any conflicts of interest. The next item up is the consent calendar, which consists of approval of the March 6, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes. Is there any need for discussion, or would somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the meeting minutes as presented.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to accept the meeting minutes.
I second that.
Approve the consent calendar. Is a second. All in favor indicate so verbally. Yes?
Yes. Yes.
Any noes?
Yes.
Thank you, Sean. All right, then we'll move on to the public hearing phase, which is one action item. We're going to hear PZE 23-0045, which is a zone map amendment request from residential suburban to single-family residential.
Sean, are you in a location that you can see a screen?
Sean, were you able to hear Donna okay?
I sure can. Thank you.
Thanks.
But can he see a screen? So does he want
Oh,
me
can
to
you see
share?
your screen okay?
I
Can't open it.
am pulling up the
Okay.
meeting minutes we had that had their presentation. I don't see your screen though.
Yes, I just didn't know if you wanted me to share or if you were attending by phone. So that's all. Can you see it now?
I'm on Zoom.
Forever. Got it.
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Okay.
You may fire when ready, Ms. Gridley.
Been a crazy day. So tonight we're here to have the public hearing for the Bassett Zone Map Amendment. That's PZE 23-0045. And just as a matter of location, this property is south of West Miles Avenue on North Reed Road, north of Mustang. It's on the west side of the road, more commonly known as 10299 North Reed Road. The applicant and engineer of record is Eric Olson of Olson Engineering, but I believe Jeremy Trezulli is here to present on behalf of the applicant. Paige Bassett, I believe, is in the audience of Bassett Construction, and they are the owners. So just to give you some reference points here, the existing zone is residential suburban, and the property to the west and east, north and south, kind of exterior, is single-family residential.
Donna, the immediate two lots, one to the north, one to the south, are also RS, or are they R1?
Correct,
Okay, so we've got three RSs surrounded by R1.
correct.
Thank you.
All right, with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Terzulli. Minimize my thing. There you go. You're welcome.
Good evening, Commissioners. Jeremy Terzulli, Project Manager with Olson Engineering based in Post Falls, Idaho. Here to talk about a request for zone change from residential suburban to R1. Thanks for that, Donna. I'm sorry. I don't think I'm supposed to touch the microphone. I will try to project my voice. Can you hear me okay?
No microphone.
All right. So Bassett Construction, this is their bio. Bassett's are here this evening. Page is a custom home builder, has been since 1993 in the area. He is not a developer by trade. Hasn't done a single development to this point in his career as a custom home builder and hopes to never do another one. So why are we here then? A couple years ago, Paige's daughters finished schooling and became part of the medical community around here. One is a tech, a lab tech, and one is a registered nurse, struggling to find housing. Paige is in the unique position where he was able to purchase this 1.5 acre parcel of property with the hopes to be able to build 3 or 4 homes on it at a for-profit in order to hopefully create 2 homes that he can sell at his cost to his daughters so that they can gain entry into the home market in our area. So that's why we are putting forth this request. As Donna mentioned, it is residential suburban and it's 1.48 acres as sit. So one could conceivably say potentially 3 units if we asked for a slight variance on the half acre minimum in the residential suburban, but we felt it was more appropriate as an R1 zoning designation. So I know we're not here to talk about subdivision, but we've already done a conceptual layout, and I felt that this satellite image and this satellite overlay gave an idea of the neighborhood context and what the proposal would be here if we are able to get the appropriate zoning, which would be R1. No more than 6 lots would fit based on minimum lot sizes, and if approved, this is what we would move forward, some version of this. We created the hammerhead the way that it is. That's required for the fire truck turnaround, and we thought, so we met with the folks to the south, both 10225 and 10275, to talk about if they would like connectivity to their backyards. The folks to the south said, maybe if you could lay it out in a way that we might be able to piggyback off of that connectivity in the future, that would be advantageous. Both those property owners to the south were, in essence, supportive as long as it wasn't going to be, and I quote, a bunch of apartments in there. So they were okay with that. Gentleman to the north was less receptive. So the standards of approval, which we go over every time when we deal with these, and I know you guys know them well. Standards 1 and 2 tend to offer us the guidance from the commission to offer up to city council if you believe that any additional conditions of approval should be placed on the proposal. So that's kind of 1 and 2. Number 3 speaks to the consistency with the adopted comprehensive plan and the future land use map. And number 4 speaks to the intent of the zoning district. So with regard to the intent of the zoning district, This is a direct quote, kind of the opening statement in Title 11, Chapter 1 of the zoning code. And it reads, this isn't the complete, but it's sort of the mission statement of that zoning code, that land use regulations will be applied in ways that respect public needs, minimize conflicts with nearby land uses, and protect the private property rights of other landowners. Additionally, the zoning regulations shall implement the goals and policies of the comprehensive plan and have been made with reasonable consideration, among other things, for the character of the district and its peculiar suitability for particular uses, and with a view of conserving the value of buildings and encouraging the most appropriate use of the land throughout the incorporated area of the city of Hayden. And I felt that was really important to what the discussion will likely center around tonight is what is the most appropriate use of this land. So most of this is covered in the staff report, which I did read. I know you guys have a copy of it, but I just wanted to kind of summarize what came out of that staff report is that city staff during our pre-development meeting did not indicate that any additional studies were likely to be necessary. The 6-lot subdivision would comply with the R1 development standards, meaning we wouldn't come back and be asking for variances of that standard just to shoehorn in additional lots. Utilities readily available in the area. We've already met with Hayden Lake Irrigation District and talked with Brandon over there about some improvements to the water line. He has an old AC line that tends to run through the backs of these properties, and he would be happy to get that moved out into Reed Road and get people connected to a new water line out there through that section of Reed. The request and the subsequent subdivision aligns with the district's purpose and intent. It's quite consistent with the other single-family lots in the vicinity. As that satellite pointed out, on this block, other than the Bassett's parcel and the 2 parcels directly south of the Bassett piece, everything else on that block is are single-family homes on roughly quarter-acre lots. That's consistent throughout that block. It is consistent with the future land use map, as it shows in the staff report that the future land use map does identify this as an R1 for future land use. And it aligns with many of the goals and policies within the comprehensive plan. And I say many and not all, because as we all know, the goals and policies in the comprehensive plan, some of them are a little contradictory. And I believe it's impossible for any one project to check every box with regard to goals and policies in the comprehensive plan. That's why we have the discussion. That's why the public is invited in to see the project and kind of voice their opinion about it. But with regard to mixtures of housing, community needs, public health, general welfare, I believe it aligns quite well with a lot of the goals and policies within the comprehensive plan. So to summarize, Paige and his wife came to us 6-7 months ago with this plan to sort of help his daughters gain home ownership in the community that they grew up in. Believe that this could allow them to achieve that goal. We believe that the 6 homes on the quarter-acre lots is reasonable on this parcel and in this area of town. And I think the discussion tonight is that with regard to the general provisions of the Hayden zoning code, given the existing conditions around housing in the city of Hayden right now, is this request for R1 zoning designation the most appropriate use of this land? I think that's what question we're asking tonight. And I know the staff report will go into greater detail, sort of the nuts and bolts. So with that, I'll stand for any questions.
Will you bring up your map again?
I will.
Even though this isn't about a development.
I do believe it offers kind of a good neighborhood context, though.
And I like the visuals always.
Where is that piece located on that map?
Our piece is here, though. See that blue line? This doesn't exist. This is an overlay right now. The parcel is right here, and this house right here is at its useful life. It's technically a tear down.
Commissioners, any questions for the applicant?
No.
No.
Sean?
No questions. Thank you.
Thanks. Keith, Brandon?
Nope. Thank you.
Looks like we're good, Jeremy. Thank you.
I guess I don't need it open like 3 times. Good. Okay, so kind of starting off where we left off before. So this kind of gives a greater picture of the zone map amendment request and the properties that are around it. It's kind of in a redevelopment location that has subdivisions that have been constructed in the single-family R1 zone to the north, to the west. East is also zoned single-family residential, and then farther south. And then the remaining parcels are residential suburban that haven't transitioned into another zone.
Don, as part of your slide deck, do you have the average lot size for the
I don't, because this isn't a subdivision.
Right, I'm just asking if, let me rephrase my question then. Do you have the lot sizes for the properties to the east and to the west in your slide deck?
I do not, because again, it's not a subdivision.
Understand.
Yeah, that's why. I mean, I did look at them, and they range in size on the west side from that 1/5 of an acre kind of conversation in most of those subdivisions to larger lot sizes to the east. Some are small, some are large. These are about 1/4 of an acre apiece.
And that's what I was trying to gauge.
Immediately
Thank you.
to the east.
Thank you.
But as far as the greater area, no, I did not.
Nope, that answers my question, thanks.
Okay. So the future land use map shows the whole area surrounding this parcel and this parcel as being single-family residential. And again, the request is a zone map amendment from residential suburban to single-family residential. The narrative identifies the intent should the zone map be be approved to create 6 single-family residential building lots. But as I caution everyone, this isn't the subdivision. This is simply the zone map amendment. It could rezone it single-family residential and leave it as a single lot if they so chose.
Yep.
Summary of the staff review for this project is basically looking at the 4 standards of approval, recognizing that we did approve a 5th standard of approval, but that was not codified at the time that this application came forward. So that 5th standard does not apply to this request. So the commission shall consider the existing zoning districts or regulations and may recommend approval, conditional approval, modification, or denial of the proposal, or the commission may defer action until the completion of such studies or plans as may be necessary to determine the advisability of the proposal. And the city council may impose conditions upon rezoning where such conditions are required to ensure that the proposed uses of the area are consistent with the community needs, public health, safety, and general welfare. And the Planning and Zoning Commission may recommend those conditions upon rezoning for the city council's consideration. And as this request from the residential suburban located here to the single family residential that's located on the comprehensive plan map is consistent with the future land use map and all of the long range plans, staff did not believe that any zoning development agreements and or conditions or studies were required. Amendments to the zoning map shall be in accordance with the future land use map and the goals and policies found in the comprehensive plan. So in Chapter 4 of the comprehensive plan, it identifies that single-family residential is a land use type which represents a classic Hayden neighborhood where single-family homes dominate and densities are low, typically ranging from 3 to 4 units per acre. Accessory dwelling units are permitted, but two-family dwellings and other types of missing middle housing are not. The goals and policies of the comprehensive plan can be found in your staff review beginning on page 3. And then the goals and policies in their entirety can be found in the appendix of the staff review. And just for the public that are here who may not have read the staff review on the city's website, I listed a plethora of goals that could address this zone map amendment, from maintaining an attractive and balanced mix of land uses, densities, and housing types. The city should encourage the development of land within the corporate limits prior to annexation, preserving and protecting, oh, there's a typo, preserving and protecting and strengthening the vitality and stability, ensuring that all development can be serviced by existing public facilities, establishing a balance between jobs and housing, coordinating the timely development of efficient, effective, environmentally sound sewer, water, and other utility infrastructure, ensuring that the ordinance and policies don't violate private property rights or adversely impact property values or create unnecessary limitations on land use, and promote and encourage the development and rehabilitation of quality housing through a variety of housing options and densities. And there's really only 5 policies that kind of pulled out. Policies are statements providing guidelines for current and future decision-making or position-making. The city should judiciously evaluate the opportunity to provide sewer and water and other services within the corporate limits and plan future extension of services in areas of impact. Development should be compatible with the land use chapter of the comprehensive plan and fiscally responsible. The city should evaluate community-wide impacts of development, identifying their needs for public facilities, utility services, circulation, housing, and the effect on city resources. Encourage zoning and zoning text amendments to support the creation of strategic nodes or higher density development and transition zones, and coordinate and support local water and irrigation districts in efforts to balance growth with available water supplies. And that's a blank slide. That's not a good thing. How about if I do this? That'd probably work better. The 4th standard of approval is the amendment to the zoning map and zone text shall align with the zone district's purpose and intent. So the existing zone designation as a zone designation definition in the city code identifies that residential suburban zone provides for single-family residential on larger lots and minimal agricultural uses. And the proposed zone designation for single-family residential is only slightly different from that in the comprehensive plan. The single-family residential zone provides for the classic Hayden neighborhood where single-family homes on smaller lots are permitted, but again, accessory dwelling units are not, but two-family dwelling units are not. I did want to note that the setback and lot design table that is in your staff review has these 2 minimum lot sizes backwards in the table. And so the minimum lot size in a single family residential zone is 8,250 square feet. And the minimum lot setback, minimum lot size in the residential suburban zone is 21,780, which is half an acre. Effectively, the only other major differences, as you can tell, all of the side yard setbacks are the same, side, front, rear. All of the setbacks are the same for the primary structure. Minimum frontages are the same. They both allow accessory dwelling units. Lot coverage is a little bit larger in single-family residential because the lots are smaller. And the difference between the residential suburban and the residential single-family is the side yard setback in the accessory from 10 foot to 5 feet. That really is the only difference between those 2 zones. So infrastructure isn't addressed as far as zone map amendments go, but as part of the zone map amendment public noticing process, we have to notice all service providers and all political subdivisions that could potentially have impact on it. So as a result of those agency notices, and there were about 22 agencies that were noticed, all of those agencies had an opportunity to respond back. It's interesting that Jeremy has talked to Hayden Lake Irrigation District because they didn't respond to the public agency comment, but Avondale did. So Avondale says that
It's on a boundary.
it is on a boundary. So Avondale says they'll serve it, and they're in favor of the project. Dry utilities are all to be placed underground. Any subdivision project that comes forward or development project that comes forward requires that infrastructure to be placed underground, which even if the house were to remain, the infrastructure to it would have to all go underground. The city sewer master plan shows the site within the H2 basin. The Northern Lakes Fire Protection District did reply, and that was in a memo that came to you last Friday.
Based off of what you just said, if the house stayed, the current one that's on there, if it gets rezoned and they kept that house, they would have to change their utilities?
At the time of any development to the property, if they were to keep that house, they would, if it has an overhead service to it today,
Yeah.
part of the subdivision requirements is it would have to go underground. Streets, Reed Road would get constructed to whatever the city's typical section is at the time of development, and internal streets would be built to local street standards, and stormwater would be reviewed at time of site plan and or subdivision development. So notices were sent to 25 agencies. Those public agencies who responded, many of them had no comments and no concerns. Panhandle Health District, Idaho Fish and Game, Idaho Department of Environmental Quality, Idaho Department of Water Resources, all had no comments and no concerns. Again, Avondale Irrigation District said they were in support and they would serve water in future development. And Northern Lakes Fire Protection District provided comments that did come out in the memo with public comments last Friday to the commissioners. They approved the request and provided direction at the time of future development. So the comments that you received in your memo are over there, but you guys have all got them. There were no comments that were received in favor. We did receive one that was relatively neutral, and 4 that were opposed. And you received both the synopsis of that as well as the comments themselves. So those are the 4 standards of approval. So the Planning and Zoning Commission may find, as part of their recommendation, they can approve it. They can approve it with conditions, or they can deny the zone map amendment from residential suburban to single-family residential. I stand for questions.
Any commissioners have any questions for the city?
No.
Keith, Brandon?
No.
Sean, any questions for the city?
No questions. Thank you.
Donna, thank you.
Do you want this one left up?
Probably the map through the public hearing, and then if we can have that for deliberation, that would be great. Thank you very much.
Do you want the map that's just the aerial? That one?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to start the public hearing procedures. Well, we've already started, I'm sorry. At this point, anyone who is present that or online who wants to offer comments regarding the case, please submit a completed form on the table by the entrance doors. Forms must have your name, address, date, and whether you wish to testify in support of, opposed to, or are neutral. Anyone planning to speak must do so at the podium so your remarks can be heard in the recording system. Obviously, if you're online, that's not applicable. All questions and comments will be directed to the commission, not the applicant, and the applicant will have the opportunity to answer questions and offer a rebuttal after all public testimony is completed. All speakers will need to state their name and address for the record before they begin speaking. I will call first those supporting the application, then those uncommitted, and finally those opposed to the application. As a side note, the commission chooses not to answer questions. So I guess, do we have any forms filled out? Does anyone in the public wish to speak? I will go out to verbally to the members in the audience. Does anybody wish to speak about this case? Two people. So there are some forms up there at the top. If you would grab them, please fill them out and we will wait for you. Thank you.
Coming from you, that's amazing.
I mean, instead of them coming in and saying 42 homes,
Right.
they're the same size or larger, and everything around them.
It's completely surrounded by it.
It's like, it's in line with the future.
Mhm. When I've used that term, it's like it doesn't, it usually gets rejected.
Thank you, sir.
I think
That's fine.
I assume we can fill in the blanks, right?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sandwiches.
You know, I feel like that just all of a sudden, like we didn't have that for a while. I'm like, yeah, it's because they're really long. Meeting.
Oh, I see. I think that's more of it. So this water means short.
Yeah, that's when I went down.
Okay.
Hey, when are we gonna dig up your yard?
All right, we have two people who are in the audience tonight from the community. Both wish to speak against. The first one, I'll call up as Rick. And if you would just give your name and address before you start, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm Rick Wells. I live at 10453 North Granada Street in Hayden. Okay, I am against this proposition because I believe we have way too much construction going on right now in our area. I oppose this because of our environment. All the animals, the wildlife has been leaving the area for the last few years. Bulldozers are carving out the sides of mountains up on the, near the lake over there, so rich people can go up there. And our lakes are draining. They're way below the water level they should be. So I don't believe we should be doing any more building until we get the more infrastructure built. The highways are getting way too much. And the more we build, the more people that come in, the more garbage we have littering along the highways. And it's time to look at our environment and instead of just keep on going the way we're going, full speed ahead. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. And our other person tonight is it Jean or Jeannie?
Jean.
Jean.
I'll get there, guys, just a minute. Okay, my name is Jean Malin. I live at 10358 North Reed Road, southeast corner of Miles and Reed. Most of our homes are on 1/3 acre lots or better. I don't think we should put in more than 3 houses on that lot. We have to protect our aquifer. We put more houses, more cars. Put 6 houses, 12 cars. Or better, when you got teenagers and children. That would be, then you need to plant large trees to clean the air, give oxygen, and give shade in the summertime to cover the asphalt and the cement. It's going to create a lot more heat. Also, the water. We're going to run out of water if we don't have a way for all the water from the rain and the snow melt to have land to go through to replenish our aquifer. That's most important. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean.
Oh, and a place for children to play.
Okay, that concludes testimony from people in the audience. Is there anyone online that wishes to testify? Okay, I'm hearing none, so we will move on. At this point, the applicant is, if at his discretion, can offer a rebuttal to anything that has been brought up, but not bring up any new talking points, please.
Okay, Jeremy Terzulli again. I just wanted to talk to a couple of points brought up, well, generally, in the public comments. I did want to point out that I believe roughly 40 notices were sent out to surrounding property. I believe there were 4 letters received in opposition. I believe the young lady that just spoke was one of the letters, and so then I guess we'll have a 5th. And I just want to point out that I think it's probably safe to assume that the other people that didn't feel it incumbent upon them to offer comment or show up tonight were at least neutral to the project. I just wanted to point that out, that I think that's a fairly safe assumption, is that they were fairly indifferent. With regard to the aquifer, so I present all over the county. In the county, Post Falls, Coeur d'Alene, the aquifer gets brought up a lot. And I just want to try to start to sort of unravel fact from fiction. So I believe the Aquifer Atlas was provided by the SpokaneAquifer.org people. That's about 30 or 40 people in our area that have collaborated to study, analyze the aquifer, and they put out a report. The last one came out in 2015. I think we're due for another one this month, maybe next month. But I want to read something directly from them. And these are the experts we put in charge of the aquifer. The aquifer is in good shape right now. And part of the big reason is when we take these aging septic systems off of the line and get people onto municipal city sewer, and we use current and stringent stormwater remediation tactics, which is dry wells, grassy swales that pre-treat water that comes off of the roadways. And again, those aging septic systems that are allowed to just sail right through the prairie gravels into the aquifer, that is the biggest contaminant within the aquifer. So I'm going to read you directly from the Aquifer Atlas. The earliest nitrate concentration map is from the water year October 77 to 78, which represents early stages of aquifer protection activities in Washington and Idaho. The peak of observed nitrate degradation in the entire aquifer was in the water year 84 to 85. In 1985, a major effort on both sides of the state line was initiated to reduce septic system contamination of the aquifer through installation of piped sewer collection systems. On all the maps, certain areas near the edge of the aquifer show high levels of nitrate. These locations represent eddy areas where incoming contaminants from side hill developments are not easily or quickly mixed with the better quality water recharging from the east. As the maps indicate, an ongoing aquifer protection programs have decreased the nitrate contamination despite significant population increases. These programs include installation of sewers and stormwater management. The groundwater in the aquifer remains some of the best quality water available anywhere in the world. That is from the Aquifer Atlas. So I hear it at every one of these public hearings, and I think we just need to start unraveling fact from fiction. So with that, if you have any additional questions, I'm available.
Commissioners, anyone have any further questions for the applicant?
No.
Okay, I'm going to close the hearing. No more questions or comments will be allowed from the public. To the commission, do we wish to proceed, or do we want to schedule deliberation for another day?
Move it on down.
Proceed.
Proceed.
Okay, I'm hearing proceed. Sean, I'm going to pick on you because you're remote. I hope you don't mind. Would you like to offer up your comments?
Proceed.
No, I meant, do you have any comments regarding the case, the standards of approval, recommendations to approve, modify, or deny the request? But keeping in mind, we're just
I believe that
recommending tonight.
request
I'm sorry?
meets the standard. I believe the request meets the standards of approval.
Okay.
Is in conjunction with the character of the neighborhood. I've read a few of the objections, or actually all the objections, and on Pinto Lane, I think this is very similar sized lot as we're seeing proposed. The neighbor to the south is not opposed. I don't want to get into a situation of the tyranny of the majority, or the minority, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe this is a good rezone. It's not like a chateau where the entire street was suburban and all the neighbors wanted to keep it that way. This is surrounded by R1. So I think it's a good zone change amendment.
Thank you very much. Mary?
I agree with Sean. I think that it meets all the standards of approval. And again, I think it fits the neighborhood. I think that there's good reason behind it. I think it's a responsible request, and I would support it.
Okay, Ben?
Else that Sean and Mary haven't said that I also agree with everything both of them have reiterated, so.
Okay. Keith?
I think it meets the standards of approval. I think that it's an island surrounded by R1. It's a future land use, the whole thing. They could have made them smaller lots and asked for more, and they didn't. And the size of the lots are similar to the lots to the west and to the east. So I think it's a good fit for now and for the future land use map. So.
Okay. Brandon?
Like Ben, they've pretty much said everything so far. I agree that it meets all of the standards of approval, and all the surrounding property makes sense.
Okay. My 2 cents is, I'm a little taken back by the motivation to increase the density as a means to afford housing for family members, and it definitely speaks to our need to create more affordable housing in the area. Since this is just a zone change request, we can't hold the applicant to 1, 2, 3, or 6 houses. Although I suppose if we did a conditional approval, recommended approval, we could limit the number of houses on the property as a condition. Is that lawful?
I wouldn't recommend it.
Okay, so it sounds like that's a bad idea. Fair enough, just asking for clarity. Standards for approval aside, I know for me personally, the fact I'm not seeing, because each of these little lands that's being developed or subdivided are so small, I'm not seeing a strategic housing implementation similar to, I think it's Lake City, or what's the big home development to the west of Lake City High School, where there's parks, walkways, it's all these little patchwork quilts.
Coeur d'Alene Place.
Yeah.
Coeur d'Alene Place, thank you. And so I don't see park, like when we're looking at that map, I don't see a single park in that whole map surrounding area. I don't see place, I just see homes. And that's not a crime. But I think it speaks to some of the points of the comprehensive plan as to, the kind of a place we're building. So, going simply by the standards of approval, I think the request meets it. Do I personally want to see up to six homes go into a small place like that, even if the ones to the west are at least the same size or smaller? Not necessarily. So I guess that's all my thoughts on that. We can further discuss it. We can make a motion, whatever y'all, let's just keep rolling.
Anybody else want to take a turn tonight?
Yeah, I'll go.
Awesome.
I'd like to make a motion to approve case number PZE dash 230045 as a recommendation to the city council.
Second that.
I'll second that.
Okay, we've got a motion on the table. We've got 2 seconds. Maybe we get a roll call, please.
Chair Davis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Approved, yes.
Commissioner Howard,
Yes.
Commissioner Prickett,
Yes.
Commissioner Gibson,
Yes.
and Commissioner Bemis.
Yes. Okay, motion passes. The next item on our agenda tonight is reports, and the report that we have is the Community Development Director's report.
Just a second. So, our next meeting, which is in May, May 1st, I believe, really is a call-in meeting. Is it the consent calendar for the minutes of tonight's meeting? We have a couple of projects that are floating around on the, kind of in the works, but haven't been fully submitted yet. So I am seeing that we will need a full meeting in our second meeting in May.
Was that the 1st or the 8th?
I believe it's the first.
I got it down for the first, yeah.
The first.
Thank you.
So then on the 15th, 4 weeks, yeah, 15th, we may have 2 public hearings. So
Okay.
Can we make that like a really exciting one, because that's my birthday. So everybody
celebrate.
needs to be really happy.
Sandwiches.
Yeah,
pizza.
sandwiches, pizza,
Or you could be excused
Alcohol in the
because it's
back.
your birthday. My goodness.
So at City Council at not the last meeting, but the meeting before the last, the Kerr Zone Map Amendment request for reconsideration came forward, and the council affirmed their denial of that request, just as a matter of interest.
Can you say that one more time?
About a month ago at the
Yep.
City Council meeting, not the last one, but the one prior to that. The request for reconsideration of the Kerr Zone Map Amendment. At the conclusion of that public hearing, the City Council denied they had the reconsideration, and they affirmed the denial
Got it.
of that.
We recommended
amendment.
approval. City Council said no. The applicant appealed. They still said no.
Right, that was the one on Dakota.
And the timing of that,
And
to
Ramsey.
to let you know about that tonight is important because the applicant is within their 28-day window to file a petition for judicial review with district court. So it's important that if anybody approaches you about that particular application, that you not have any conversations while we're within that appeal period.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay,
All right, that's all I've got.
all you got? Anything else the commissioners need to
Pardon me?
survey?
Oh, go ahead, Abby.
The city council had approved to put out a citizen engagement survey, and so that survey is going to be put out to the public here shortly with the newsletter that comes out. So when you see that newsletter in your mailbox, that survey will be live for about 3 weeks. So we just want to get the word out and make sure that people are participating in that survey.
Thank you. All right, I think that's it. So we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody, for showing up. I appreciate it very much.
Absolutely.